Hi, everyone. Welcome to day 3 of InDesign 101. I'm super excited because today's going to be quicker. I'm going to try to make it quicker. I'm chatty and I like doing live streams. So you can never accuse me of trying to be nervous or not trying to be nervous. I'm nervous and I want to get off the live stream. If anything, I just keep talking. I'm like that friend where you're like trying to get off the phone and you're like, okay, well, it's great talking to you. And you're trying to hang up and they're like, oh, and they say one other thing. And so you have to respond because they asked you a question. And then you're like, okay, I think the conversation's over. And then they say something else and you're like, I'm never going to get off the phone. And that sometimes is kind of how these live streams work. So I did not make slides today because I noticed that when I have slides, I'm even more chatty or chattier. I'm not sure which one's right. Which is funny because I'm a writer, but I do hire a proofwriter. So a proofreader. So I am chattier when I have slides and I am a little bit more to the point when I do a demo, I think. We'll see. Well, today will be an experiment because we had slides yesterday and the day before. And I just got a notice from YouTube that they took yesterday's video down because of the word give a W-A-Y. So we still have one for today. If you are in my mailing list, you know that I am going to give away, I'm just going to say it. So a free PDF of the vendor Rolodex for which one was it? I think today is for weddings or calligraphy. I don't know. Now, see, that's another problem when I don't have slides, but I will pick the winner. Whatever the email said today, we'll do. Now, make sure that you have the workbook today. So you're going to follow along. We're going to do workbooks because I'm going to be going pretty quickly in InDesign and to do screenshots. And I know some people do screenshots of everything. I do find that a little painful and tedious to make screenshots. And honestly, as a user, I would rather watch someone do it on a screen than watch like a bunch of screenshots. I look at the book, I look at the screen like back and forth. I don't know. I get whiplash from doing that. Some other people might love that. But now you're going to see a weird picture in picture. So you'll notice too, I'm going to show you a mistake I did. It's not really a mistake. It's like me being lazy. So I made today's worksheet really quickly last night and I took another InDesign file and I just kind of pasted images on top. So if you have, I don't know how much memory you have, but when you open today's file, and if you skim really quick, you're going to see where it says ClickUp training. When you're a team of one, watch now. This has nothing to do with ClickUp, but inside the InDesign file, which I will show you now, you'll see that this is what's supposed to be page 1. But because I was being lazy, like I mentioned, over here, if I move this image to the side, you can see, in fact, I can just move it all the way over. It says ClickUp training when you're team. I just copied over it because I was just too lazy to delete the images. However, because of the way InDesign saves files, and depending on your memory and how big your screen is, when you send that out to people, it's possible they may see the stuff that you were trying to hide. So this isn't a big deal, but who knows what InDesign files you were making and what you were trying to hide. So it's a good lesson learned on accident that for images, you should, what I should have done is I should have deleted all of this over here. And over here on the parent pages, I had this master page applied, which really I should have taken the blank master page where it says none, and I should have applied that to page 1 so there's nothing there. And then I should have deleted that image at the top too, both of those. And then I should have put this back there. So that was the correct order that I should have done, but I did not. So, all right, so we are inside of Adobe InDesign. I am going to jump to number 1. Unless anyone has any questions, throw them up there. I can see them because this is StreamYard and it works very well. All right, so first one, where is the type tool? So I have 7 questions for you today, and then you'll notice on the 3rd page of today's handout, I'll show it to you right here, you have where's the type tool, how do you set a default font? We have 3 more questions, and then on the very last page, I've taken the character panel, and I've just written for you on the side what each of those buttons, they're not really buttons, like settings means inside of the character panel, as well as a little key for you down at the below. And our 7th and last question is, where do you find that panel? Because it doesn't really matter how much you know about the panel. if you can't find it inside of Adobe InDesign. So we're going to go back over here to the first question. Where is the type tool? So it is right here on the left. It has a big T on it. And when you hover over it inside of Adobe InDesign, it will actually say type tool. So it's a no-brainer. However, keep in mind, remember yesterday we talked about setting up your Adobe workspace, and I said over here, window workspace, I chose digital publishing. You can choose anything you want. And over here where we said my preferred workspace, you can set up your workspace however you want as well. So not all of the workspaces have the type tool on the left. So if I go to essentials, okay, that was a bad one. If I go to, is it typography? There we go. Typography, which is kind of funny. You think it would have it. It doesn't have it over there on the left. It's disappeared. And the reason is, again, I have a ton of real estate on this computer because, or on this, I should say, monitor, because it's very large. However, if I was on my tiny, maybe MacBook Air 11-inch, I wouldn't have as much. And because of that, I would want as much real estate as I could to work on my file, and I wouldn't have it. So where's the type tool? It is on the left side. You do have to find it by going to Workspace, Digital Publishing, or your own preferred setup, or any of the other workspaces that you enjoy working with that has the tool menu bar on the left. And then when you hit T, you are now in the type tool. So number one, check it off. That's where you find it. Number two, how do you set a default font? So whenever you open InDesign and you start typing, you'll notice it uses like typically a font that you don't use, like maybe it's Montserrat or Times New. I don't know. It's probably not Times New Roman. More than likely, I think it's been so long since I installed InDesign in a computer. I don't remember. I think maybe Calibri or something like that. So if you find that irritating and you don't really use that a lot, and this is more of an advanced skill, but I could see how this could be annoying if you don't want to keep changing the font every time. Close everything down. So you need to have only InDesign open, all of your files closed. So you have like this welcome screen. When you open Adobe InDesign, you come up here to window, go to that workspace, either your preferred workspace that you're going to work with or the one that you like working with all the time. Mine is digital publishing. And then you're going to hit the type tool and you're going to set your default font. So you can see mine is set to NutraFace text. Over here, you can set it to Brandon, Think Pink, whatever fonts you have inside of there. And then under here, you can set the weight of the font. And then you can also set the default size of the font. Now, what I like to do too is over here where you see the little paragraph, I like to go inside here and I like to make sure, because it's always hyphenate is checked by default. And I don't know why, I find it highly irritating when I'm writing something and then InDesign has decided to help me out, hyphenate the word, put half of it on one line and the other half on the other. So by unchecking this box, it will not hyphenate for you by default. So that is how you set up your default font. So if I go ahead and I do a new document now, and it doesn't matter what size it is, if I take the type tool and I try to write some text, all of this text is now in NutraFace. Right, NutraFace text light size up, because that's what I set it as my default. And it's also not going to do any hyphenations, which you can see over here. If I go to type, fill in with placeholder text, there we go. Also, just a little pro tip for you too. I know a lot of people copy lorem ipsum from somewhere when they create templates or documents. You actually don't have to do that inside of Adobe InDesign. It will do it for you. Anytime I make a text box, once my cursor is inside the text box, if I go over here to type, I'm going to see the option for fill with placeholder text, and it is going to fill it with placeholder text. So I don't have to worry about that. It will do all of that for me. So that is number two. And then number three is, where is the type tool? So let's open up our workbook again, so you can follow along. And don't worry, I will send out workbook number 4 and workbook number 5. I'll probably finish them, like, honestly, the night before. I'll send them out the next morning. And then, like I said, I will consolidate the whole workbook for you by September 1. All right, so we are not in question 4, we are in question 3. How do you enter text? So super easy. All you have to do is hit the type type tool. So text can only go into a text square. It's kind of annoying because in Microsoft Word, you could just put your cursor anywhere and just start typing. But this is a layout software. So you have to think of it like if you were looking at a magazine and you wanted to put some text somewhere, you have to make a text box so that InDesign knows where to put the text. So over here, if I come here, I'm going to say, this is where I want my text. So the nice thing about this is then I can just kind of move it where I want to. But that's how you create text, is you have to create a text box and then you can start typing. So remember, box first, then typing. It's kind of like that, what is that phrase that everyone says? They think they're so innovative and cool. They're like, you should think outside the box. Well, in InDesign, you cannot type outside the box. You can only type inside the box. So it's inside the box, not outside the box. And it's a silly saying. Anyway, all right, number 4, how do you change your text font size and color? So let's just go ahead and create a text box over here. So I'm going to say, this is the text that I want to change. All right. So how do I change my text font? So if I want this to be a different font, I need to first turn on the type tool so I can see my font choices over here. So I'm probably not going to remember any fonts that I like off the top of my head. Oh, here, this is a nice text font, but it's kind of small, right? So if I want to change the size, same thing, I just go over here and I'm going to change it to 36. And if I want to change the color, I'm just going to keep going over to the right. This little box here, the red with the slash means there's no color at all, but this is for the background. We have to make sure that when we open that tool, we have the T's selected, not the box, because that's going to change the color of the box. Right now, it's just transparent. And we can change it to any color that we want over here. So I have hot pink. I have yellow, which is not really legible. I have red, which looks like I'm like saying a warning. We have blue. Now you can do other colors that you don't see in here. So to add a color, all you have to do is say new color, double click this, and just like you saw before, you can change the hex code. Now, over here where it says color mode, you can change to CMYK. They have many other things if you have the Pantone code or something else, but pretty much between the two, I use RGB or CMYK. Now the rule is if you are doing something for the computer, it's typically RGB. But if you're doing something for print, it's CMYK. But even then, honestly, I still send things RGB over to a printer and it turns out fine. Now, the theory is if you turn in something that's super specific like Pantone, it will turn out exactly. However, you must, and I can't emphasize this enough, I say this all the time in Planner Academy, you have to call the printer first. They may not have Pantone, or who knows, like even on your own printer at home, when you print something in blue and you just put in a new toner or a new ink pack, it's very vibrant. When you're getting towards the end, even though it says it has 10% left, it looks a little different. And it really depends on the printer and how many jobs they have going, the type of paper that you printed on, honestly, the time of day, the temperature, the humidity, like there's so many different factors. And that's why I say sometimes I just send things over RGB because you can't really like see it, right? Like it's not a big deal. It's not like you're super inspecting it. The only time that really matters is ads. And typically that's like ads for print where you have been hired by a client and colors are really, really important, or they are super, super great at seeing different shades of blue than you would think, or maybe the ads are going to go up. I had one time I did try to like budget a little, and it was a spa or salon or whatever, and so the postcards that they were giving out to customers sat right next to a really huge like display of their logo, which had I think it was a specific Pantone purple, right? And the printer didn't have purple, and I was like, oh, it's like close enough, right? You could tell because it was the place the client was. It was super bright. There were lights shining down, and it was pretty obvious that like I had done a different purple color. So So I did get caught there, but otherwise, and that's probably also the reason that I don't really excel at client work. So just being honest, but that is how you change the color. And again, that was a very long response to that simple question. All right, moving on to number 5. We have people here. Hey, Jennifer. Elizabeth, you're late. It's fine. As you know, I keep talking, so it doesn't really matter how late you are. I will just keep going, so I'll probably still be here. All right, number 5. Although I am making pretty good progress today. Why doesn't Control B make my text bold? And how do I change from bold to italic to regular? All right. So every time even now when I use Adobe InDesign, I am still guilty of hitting Control B, Control I, right? Because I just want to make something bold or italic in 2 seconds. You can't do that. So over here, even if you look at this default font that we have here, Minion Pro. So let's go ahead and change this to Minion Pro. Oops, or not Minion, because I think Minion Pro has a lot of different things in it. So now we have Minion Pro. So underneath here, you have regular, or I have italic. This probably isn't a good one because I can't see any others. Gotham, I now have bold, and that's it. Okay, that is not a good one either. All right, let's just make a new text box and see if it will default. Minion Pro, there we go. Minion Pro, and now I only have italic. All right, I lie. Usually there's a ton. Let's try NutraFace text. NutraFace text. And underneath there, there we go. That's what I was looking for. Okay, so now we have light alternate. Let me change this so you can see. Get that. There we go. So now we have NutraFace text bold. We have light. We have light alt, which you can see kind of change the spacing just a little. We have light italic. We have light italic alt. We have book. We have book alt. We have book italic. You can see this just keeps going and going and going. So there were, it'll tell you right here, 16 different options underneath there to make this bold. So if I just highlight all of this, like you normally would in Word or anything else, and I hit Control B, it's going to give me text frames options, because that is the shortcut for text frame options in Adobe InDesign. That's a shortcut key. And you're going to be like, I don't see bold at first. And then you're going to be confused. And then you're going to say, oh, that's right. Lisa told me I can't do that. So if I want to make this bold, I am going to have to come over here and I am going to have to find bold. And now, well, just the one part of the text that I highlighted is now in bold. Now it is possible, like here with what is it, Minion Pro, you can see it said it only has 2. So it only has regular and italic. I don't have the option to switch to bold, and I'll show you exactly why that is. So if I go over here, when you go to purchase fonts, some of them come pre-installed on your machine. It really depends on how you purchase them. But if we go to something like Octa New, which has 23 fonts in it, you're going to see that you have the option. See, it says 23 fonts starting at $25. You don't have to buy all of those fonts. So it's probably possible. I don't think I bought Minion Pro, but however it was installed in this computer, it only had 2 options. So over here under make it that big, over Octa New font, you're going to see that I can buy all of these 23 fonts, or I can pick and choose which ones I want to purchase. So if I pick all of these, it's going to be $210. That's pretty pricey, right? And then per style is $9.13, which sounds much more reasonable. And most likely, if you look at all these different styles, I am probably not going to make it through all 23 different styles. So maybe I would get a thin, I would possibly get, I would get a regular, maybe an ultra light, just 13 more. I might get a medium, maybe a heavy, and that's kind of it. Now, there is a small hack inside of here to make something italic, even though you haven't purchased the italic. So that's usually why I never purchase the italic. You can kind of shift the what do you call it? The angle of your letters. So like over here, I mean, we have the italic for this, but if I want to make this slightly italic, I can come up here to this tool and see how it says 0%. I can just go ahead and start hitting a percentage, and you can see that the text is kind of going to the side. Now, why wouldn't you want to do this? So when you do this, you're just not sure how much you want to do. And honestly, it kind of warps the text. It looks a little odd. It hasn't been created specifically to be an italicized text. And then every time you use italic for that, what if you use 29%, 24, 23, you're going to have to remember that so you don't do, 10% here, 29% here, 5% here, because your document's going to look a little weird. So that is how you switch around. And remember, all of these options are maybe not always available depending on the font family you've chosen, or even sometimes it's just not an option to buy all of those fonts. So like if we go back to, where were we? Over here, I mean, my fonts is usually pretty good about having like everything. But this guy, NoFX only has two fonts. It has outline and it has regular. There's no italic, there's no bold, there's nothing else. When you buy his family package, that's it. You're paying $19 for these two fonts. So keep that in mind. All right, how do I add fonts to InDesign, right? So I have a pretty big list right here of a ton of different fonts, right? I probably have too many. I could probably delete a lot. And the nice thing too is you can see as I go through my list of all my gazillion fonts, I can not only see a preview of what it looks like on the left, I can see how it changes my fonts on the right. Now, if I want to add fonts to this list, all I have to do is, and I believe it's the same for PC and Mac, I actually add them to my computer, not to the program. So if in Mac, all you have to do, you probably don't have it, no one has it on their desktop, hit the little spotlight search here at the top right on your Mac and put in the word font book, or the words font book. It's two words, not one. And you'll see this pop up. So open font book up and you'll see you have an option here to put in fonts either to the computer or to a specific user. Now, I am the only person who uses this computer. I don't even have well, it's been a while. I do have people that come and stay with me to visit, but it's been so long because of COVID. I mean, who's visiting anyone? But when people do visit, everyone pretty much has their own laptops. But the only other reason that you would put it into user is maybe you don't want a certain person using the computer to have a certain font. I don't know why else we do it. It probably applies more to a corporate setting than it does to your at-home computer. But all you have to do is drag and drop it. So I'm going to show you, where are my fonts? I have a lot of fonts. So here's what I do. And this is only recently because I am so bad at font. Like when you buy one font, I always think, oh, I'm just going to buy a couple fonts and then maybe a couple more. And I always think in my head, I'm going to remember every single font I bought. I have bought probably thousands of fonts because sometimes you buy those packages and maybe there's like 3 fonts out of like 30 that you want to use. And you're like, this is such a good deal. I'm going to buy this 30 pack of fonts because you never know, I might use them. And then I end up like installing all of them or something crazy like that. So I made a new folder called fonts and I tried to put it in here in alphabetical order. However, you'll notice like this trendy font bundle that I bought, now it's out of order. So I have bought, and you shouldn't feel bad about this, it happens to everybody. I have bought not only fonts that I already own, I have also bought fonts that I have access to for free, either through Google Fonts or through Adobe Fonts. So, it happens to anyone. Let's see, Jennifer. I'm the only person too, but I still always hit install for all users. Just have it, I guess. Yeah, I do too. I don't know why. All right, so if I want to install font, you're going to notice too, well, this one doesn't. This has OTF. Oh, here we go, TTF. You're going to have the choice between OTF and TTF. I always say if you have a Mac, do OTF. I think if you have a PC, and don't quote me on this because I'm not a PC user, I think TTF is better for PCs. But if you have a Mac, you want to do OTF. And usually OTF is the one that has the glyphs in it, which means it has alternate letters for you. So to install a font, and I might already have this installed on here, all you have to do is take one of these fonts. So let's say I want Stardom. and I'm just going to simply drag and drop it where it says computer. It will say validating fonts. It will ask me for my password. I'll say install, and it will be done. There is our Stardom font. So if I go over to, and you can see it just has, let's see if it has any variations. It just has Stardom regular. There's no other variations. So if we go over to InDesign, in the past, you had to restart your computer, but I believe now we can just change it. I don't know. Let's see. So if I put in Stardom, yeah, there it is. Stardom. Oh, with our weird italics. So let's just go ahead and put 0. There we go. That's what that font's supposed to look like. But I guess if we want to make it italic, we could by just moving the text over a little bit this way. There's a way to make it thicker too. Again, I feel like it just looks a little weird when you do that. So I tend to not do that, or not advise to do that. So what was I doing? Oh, how to add fonts to InDesign. Okay, so there's a second way to add fonts if you have Creative Cloud. And this is only if you have Creative Cloud. If you don't have Creative Cloud, it's not going to work. You're not going to see this option. However, if I want to take this over here, if I go to my list of options, I'm going to see fonts on the left, and it's really, really subtle. I don't know if anyone notices. You also have this thing that says find more, because most likely you're opening your computer. It used to say Adobe Typekit, and we talked about this before. Great lesson learned. Do not name things that you think are cute. Nobody knew what Typekit was, so they renamed it Adobe Fonts. And over here, instead of saying Adobe Fonts, I don't know why, they put the word find more. I think it would have been more intuitive to leave it Adobe Fonts, but these are Adobe Fonts. So these are, so if you see the little cloud to the right, that means you don't have that font. The nice thing is, as I go through this list, it will preview for me on the drop-down list as well as on my text that I see inside of Adobe InDesign. Now, if I want to use any of these fonts, first of all, depending on your memory too, like mine's filling up pretty quickly, but if I roll this really fast, you can see it just has the 3 dots because it's trying to catch up with me. So just wait, and they should appear like pretty soon. So let's go back up here to where it has it. So let's say we want to use, I don't know, whatever font, this font. If I want to use it, I just have to click this button, the little cloud on the right that says activate. It will ask me if I want to activate for sure. In fact, let's turn this off. I don't need I don't need to keep doing multiple clicks. And I will say, okay. And now it's there. So now it is active on my version of Adobe InDesign on this particular computer. When you go to a new computer, it may not be there. Again, like I told you, I had installed it in my MacBook Air, and I noticed, and it could have been, like I always said, they make updates all the time, but I noticed last time it wasn't there. I had to activate it on that particular computer. If you were lucky enough to have multiple versions of Adobe InDesign that you have different computers. And just so you know, if you do have 2 computers like that, and you're like, well, I have Adobe InDesign, I paid for a subscription, I should be able to use it on any computer I want. That's kind of true, kind of not true. And the reason I say that is because you have to not only log out of the other computer that you are using your license on, it will also confirm that you don't have any of those applications, and then it will open it on the other computer. That's for a single subscription. And it's kind of a pain, and it reloads all your libraries, and it's kind of weird. And then you go back to your first computer and you're like, okay, I'm ready to start using it here. It's going to do the same thing, and it's going to make you have to log out. It's I think it's a big pain. The only time I really have ever used it is when, like I said, I got a free license through Adobe for speaking at Adobe Max. And so I had used it on my computer, my second computer, but otherwise it was such a pain. I didn't go back and forth. So you should really just pick one primary computer that will be your Adobe Creative Cloud computer going forward. So that is how you add fonts to InDesign. So let's move on to the last one. So this is the character panel key. So the way to get to the character panel key is 2 ways, really. So over here on the left, you can see, because I am in that workspace called Digital Publishing, it already comes with a the tools panel on the left, and I can see my type tool. And if I click on anything else, selection, you can see this menu at the top may or may not change depending on the extra options that are available with each of these tools that you choose. So if I if I select the type tool, I'm going to see all of these options that you see there in your worksheet. You are going to see the font family, the font style, the font size, all of that great stuff. If you do not see that, or you're using a different workspace, like let's say I am using, what was it? Typography. There's nothing over there. Of course, this stayed on the top. Every time I do something, it does that to me. Let's see, review. There we go. Nope, it's still there. Oh, nope, it didn't show it on the top. All right. So over here, you're going to go to Window, type in tables, and then you're going to go to character. And it's going to pop up with this box that looked very similar to all of the stuff that you saw on the top. So now over here, I can do that weird thing where I am going to make something italic. So I would just have to select some text, and then I can start making that text lean to the right. I think I can make it lean to the left too. Let's see. I think I can do negative numbers. Yeah, look at that. Now I can make it lean to the left. Again, looks a little strange. However, I don't know what you're using Adobe InDesign for. You might need it. I can see how this could be fun for like maybe a Halloween sort of font. I don't know. I'm not really sure. Anyways, my whole point is you can get to this one of three ways. So I show you the first way, which was having the right workspace over here. So if I have digital publishing and then I hit the type tool, I get it at the top. If I'm in any other workspace, or if I just want to see it in a box format, I can go to Window, type in tables, I can hit character, and it's there. And then the third way is I could save this as my own workspace. So I could say new workspace with character pop-up, whatever. I can call it whatever. And then every time I do that workspace, if I switch over from Essentials Classic, it disappears. But if I go to my character pop-up, it has popped up. So it is back. All right, that is a wrap for today, unless you have questions. Let me see. Sandra, I wondered how I used Adobe fonts. Good. I hope that helped. All right, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. If you're here and you want to say hello to win today's prize, let me know. Say hello in the comments. I'm going to tell Google, though, to pick a number between 1 and 4 because I only have 4 comments. Hey, Google, pick a number between 1 and 4. Google's a little slow.
Here's a random number, 4.
4. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, Sandra. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for saying hello. You won today's giveaway. What is it? Like I said, I don't remember at the beginning. So what happened was I didn't make slides today. So they wouldn't talk each day of this live stream. I've been talking for a whole hour. Look, I couldn't even make it 30 minutes. I am at 35 minutes. So you won something. I think it's I'm not sure if it's the calligraphy one or the wedding invitation Rolodex. Just drop me an email at, does anyone else remember from today's email? Lisa at prettyfabulousdesigns.com. And I will email you back with that PDF. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for showing up live. I will see you tomorrow for day 4. We're going to talk all about images. Same thing, we'll have a workbook. I will show you exactly how to do it. And I will write down next time on a piece of paper what the giveaway prize is. All right. Bye, everyone.